Hello, this is Andrew Haddon, otherwise known as Felifallax on eToro. Welcome to today's Popular Investor Review, and the subject of today's review is PauloGabrielSa, and that's his username on eToro. His real name's Paulo Carvalho de Sá, and he's champion popular investor from Portugal. In fact, as it says on his LinkedIn profile, which he's kind of linked to here, he's actually the number one Portuguese most copied popular investor on eToro. So that's a great crown to have there. Paulo had asked if I could take a look at his portfolio and do a review. That was a couple of weeks ago, so apologies it's taken a while, but I had a good look through his statistics and his history today just to see what he's all about. So I'll pass on that knowledge in this review. So going to his bio, he kind of says he's a self-taught investor, which I think is fair enough. Some of the popular investors have academic qualifications in investing, and other ones have worked in the financial industry. But I think there's a lot of good people that have taught themselves and got experience of trading themselves rather than learning from a course or from a job. And this is quite a crucial thing, which he's put in global type. He's working full time on eToro to manage his copiers' investments. So I think overall, in some ways, I would prefer somebody who maybe didn't have the qualifications but was dedicating full time to the eToro rather than maybe someone who's highly qualified but just did it for 5 minutes a day or hardly ever spoke to the copiers and really was too busy with their day job. So I think obviously ideally you'd like everything there, but I don't mind him not having the qualifications and stuff like that. So his investments are stocks, which indicates to me he doesn't buy bonds or commodities, other assets like that. And his diversification comes from growth and value stocks. So there's different ways to diversify. The most common way would be diversifying between stocks and other asset classes. But if you're only investing in stocks, you can diversify by having geographical distribution, which he's got here in the pin post, US, Chinese, and other countries. And you can have growth and value. You can have high risk, low risk stocks, large cap, small cap. So there's more than one way to diversify. So that's fair enough. He's pointed out what type of diversification he does. Long-term investor, we'll come to that later to find out whether that is the case. And max leverage of 2 times rarely. So that's good that he actually said he admits they might use it, because some people say they won't use it and then they do use it. So at least he's been honest and upfront and saying, well, there might be rare occasions where he will use it. Fundamental and technical analysis, and he's got his interest here: technology, business, innovation. 500 min copy open positions, 3 to 6 months. So that's pretty standard stuff. He's got a Telegram and a LinkedIn group, so far so good. His bio and pin post are set out in a really easy to read manner, so I like that. And he had some stats he's got from this year and last year. We'll take a look at them later. Maintain a risk score between 4 and 5. Again, we'll dive into this. This is the things that you kind of want to check. If someone says risk score there, are they hitting it? If someone says long-term investor, what's their average hold time? And if someone says they're diversified, are they actually diversified? So he's kind of defined there the kind of growth and value differentiation, and also the geographical diversification there, and a little explanation of compound interest and how that could benefit people. He's saying that during certain times he will hedge or use short ETFs. So again, it's good that he's upfront. He's kind of said that and not left people guessing, and he's seen copy open positions. So I think it's really clear bio. He's got this little infographic, which I found quite amusing, because it had the 2 years there with really good results, and 2018, which is not such good results, that was cropped off the photograph. So that's what's known as doing a Wayne Gummer in the business. But still, and he also took it when his stats were slightly higher than they are at the moment. So full marks for that one. And it is good that he's got that. It's really easy to just see at a glance. So I think more people should do that. And he's really communicative in the chat box. Again, we'll come to that later. But so far, so good. And in the LinkedIn profile, I think is reassuring as well, because it shows that someone actually does exist, and they're prepared to put themselves out on a professional networking site like LinkedIn, and you can see his jobs that he's had as well there. And he describes himself as something called a growth hacker, whatever that is. So that's good. And digital marketer, social media. So he's got his fingers in a lot of pies there, and certainly he's very up on technology and marketing, things like that. So without further ado, stats. So 2018 he was only on 3 months and he lost big. He lost 29%. So I'm assuming there he was leveraging and really gambling essentially with probably a small amount of money, or I hope so for his sake. So we could be generous and just say, well, that's, he wasn't necessarily expecting to be a popular investor at that time, so he was just throwing money around. And I think that probably continued into 2019, to be honest, because you've got a few months here: 26 winning month, a 21 winning month, a 29 winning month, a 19% losing month. So I reckon the first half of last year, very high levels of risk were being taken, and probably leverage. Obviously, I don't know because the stats don't go back that far, but you don't get these sort of swings investing in stocks unless you're leveraging or risking a lot of your bankroll on one stock. And then somewhere around last summer, he seems to have had a radical change of strategy, and since then it's been a lot more stable. There's been either, small to medium sized winning months and small losing months. There's been no big losing months. There's been a couple of double-digit winning months, but there's a clear change. Summer last year, strategy has changed. So 79% profit last year overall. That's fantastic. Obviously better than the Nasdaq and S&P, but I would say the first 6 months, I believe high risk was being used. So this year's probably a fairer judge, and this year's been really his best year in terms of risk reward, I would say, because he's got 59%, which is lower return than last year, but there appears to be less risk used than there was last year. I would estimate. So, and the key, as always, with anybody that's got these returns would be making a profit in March when other people were losing their money in March. Just that 1 month being almost double-digit positive rather than double-digit negative can make a radical difference to statistics. We'll have a look later on and find out how he did that. So overall, he's beaten the markets these 2019 and 2020 by a lot, probably like double the performance of the Nasdaq both years, or the S&P. Last year, double the performance of the S&P. This year, double performance of the Nasdaq, and about 4 times the S&P. So really, really good stats there. And risk score is not quite kept to his 4 and 5 target all the time. It's strayed into 6 a few times, and in terms of intra-month, it's went into 7, but not as an average. So there's a couple of months where his average was 6, which is higher than his target, but basically he's keeping his head above water risk-wise, and the drawdown is pretty reasonable compared to. I'm going to compare him with another trader here, and I think that's pretty reasonable. In fact, I'll do that just now. What I was looking at, he's got 225 copiers, which actually isn't very many considering there's many traders like Return Invest and Richard Stroud and people like that have managed to get thousands of copiers, in some cases 7,000, 10,000 copiers, whereas Paulo's only got 225. So believe one of the factors could be that his risk is higher than some of those other investors. Another could be people might not be happy with 20% drawdown. Another one could be maybe hasn't been on the editor's choice page, or maybe he's not been a PI for all that long. But I was quite interested if you look at his stats there and then compare him with this PI that I was looking at today, Mantas, who I've not reviewed yet. But if you look at Mantas, he's got the same result as Paulo this year, pretty much, and he doesn't have the previous 2 years' history. So overall, Mantas's results are worse. Mantas's drawdown is far higher, and Mantas's risk is similar. So overall, I would have said if you're judging by results, Paulo's results are much better than Mantas, but Mantas has got 1,500 copiers and managing over 1 million, whereas Paulo has only got 225 and he's managing between 100 and 300k. So it interests me to know why Mantas has got so many more copiers than Paulo. I don't know the full reasons for that. It could be promotion by eToro, or it could be self-promotion, or it could be the copies are concerned about this losing year there. I'm not really sure why, because the drawdown is obviously better than Mantas and the results better than Mantas the last 2 years. So that's just something to have a look at, compare and contrast. I think some popular investors are underappreciated and some of them are overrated, and I definitely put Paulo in the category of being underrated. People, I think that he deserves to have a lot more copiers than he does, and hopefully he'll get them. Trades, he's doing a lot, and that was where I was a bit confused. He said he's a long-term investor, but he's done 1,500 trades, and his average holding time is 2 weeks. I mean, where I think he might be doing it, let's just go to his portfolio. I think what he's doing is probably holding, say, Tesla at all times, but what he's doing is trading in and out of it. So maybe he's got at least 4% in Tesla, but sometimes he's going to buy and sell smaller pieces of Tesla. So that's why there's so many trades. But overall, I presume he's holding the same core portfolio. That might be, in that way, you could legitimately describe yourself as being a long-term investor whilst also having a lot of trades. That'd be if I was giving him credit, I would say that. So what I really liked about his portfolio was no asset was too much. There was everything's under 5%, and it's really well synchronized as well between the current amount and the originally invested. The Bitcoin is in there, so technically speaking, and Ethereum, it's not just stocks. He might have wanted to say on his bio that he also invests in crypto, but it's only a small percent, so it doesn't really make much difference. And I think he's working in terms of units because you'll see everything here is the same, like 1.9, 0.95, 0.47. So he's probably doing something similar to what I'm doing at the moment, where one unit is maybe $100. So that'll be 100, that'll be 200, that'll be 400, and so on. That's how he's doing it because these are nice kind of level amounts, which I think is a great way of working. We'll obviously do because I'm doing the same thing. And yeah, the companies he's got are diversified between countries and between different industries. So fair enough. It's not the Apple, Facebook, Microsoft at the top. It's some different companies like Ford and Fiverr. Some Pinterest, one of his highest holdings. Not many people have got that as their top holding or second top holding. So there you go. I like that portfolio in terms of stocks. Obviously, to be properly diversified, you might be want to have cash or bonds or gold on hand to buy dips. I don't know whether he's deposits and buys dips. That would be something to look into. Doesn't really say that on his bio or profile. So what I checked back in March and see how did he make profit in March, and the answer is he was selling individual companies rather than selling indices. So he was selling airlines, which in hindsight obviously is a really good move. So that's really how he made his money there. And yeah, there's a few trades he does. Sometimes trade indices there, so there was nothing really too worrying on the hit trades history there. So that's good. Plenty of closed profit, 42% of realized profit there. So that's fantastic. You can see though there that some trades are open a month or two. There, I've not been through them all, but there seem to be. It's not kind of scalp trading or in and out of the same day. It's more hold them for a few weeks and then come out. I don't know what maybe it's technical analysis for why he's getting in and getting out. So anyway, onto the line chart. Here it is. Here I went back for this goes back to the start of last year, so that's 2 whole years. You can see really smooth progression upwards. So really fantastic. There's not very many people in eToro who have got a better last 2 years than Paulo. Though if you were nitpicking, if you go back to the 3 year point, you'll see he's hit his stop loss of 40% and flatlined. So really, it's just those 2 years. But you might want to play about with that yourself and maybe do it from June last year because I think he was really taking high risk up until then. So maybe from there to there would be a better comparison. Obviously, if we were to stick the SPX on there, then we'll have a little look at that. And in there you can see he's beaten the S&P 500 by a factor of almost around about 4 times actually. So that's great. So going back to the homepage there, posts are really good. He's done a post on Pfizer there, monthly report, really detailed there. So good use of emojis and bullet points. Seems to communicate really frequently, as you'd expect of someone that's a full-time investor. So I was really impressed by that there, and seems a very sociable, friendly guy, and we all need a bit of positivity, especially after the negative video I made yesterday. So it's good to make a nice positive one. So I would say overall, Paulo, the arguments for copying him would be he's got really strong results this year and last year. Really up there amongst the best people on eToro, and his drawdown is you would call moderate. It's not really high drawdown, it's not low drawdown, it's medium. Risk score is again medium. He's kind of kept that under control, kept it below 7 most of the time anyway. Intra month, and his portfolio looks really, really balanced there. So that's great. There's no alarm bells ringing. Very, very good communication. So these are all strong points. The only not exactly weak points is, but you would just point out that I reckon the first sort of year or so on eToro, he was trading in a more aggressive manner to what he's doing at the moment. So you could probably disregard those results there for the first 8, 9 months or so, because I'm pretty sure he was not a PI then. He was really taking a lot of risks. And yeah, I guess his risk score might be high for the most risk averse traders amongst us. And also he is quite a frequent trader. So I guess maybe if you were really nitpicking, you could say for a long-term investor, why is there so much trading in and out? And also if he's a stock investor, why is there cryptocurrency? But that would be the most minor nitpicks. So I don't think there's any major alarm bells. If you take a really broad overview, if you were being really hyper aware, then what you would say is last year and this year have been really, really strong years for the NASDAQ in particular. So there's a lot of people kicking about with gains of 30 odd percent or higher because the Nasdaq's gained 30 odd percent or higher the last 2 years. So I'd be interested to see how Paulo managed in a losing year for the stock market. You would like to hope that he would use shorting and make a profit, but you can never guarantee that. Shorting's a risky business. So if you time shorts wrong, you can end up losing more money than if you just bought and held. So that would be just basically a caveat that you can only really judge someone over a multi-year time frame, like 5 years, 10 years, and there's very few people on eToro that have got that length of track record. But I can see why he's Portugal's number one popular investor because he's made a really, really strong start to eToro, and I think he seems like a really nice person as well. And I would take that into account as well. If somebody was a good kind of friendly, communicative, honest person. As you know, I value that rather than someone who's arrogant, rude, or abrupt or deceitful. So, all the best to Paulo and all his followers and copiers. Hope you enjoyed the review and leave any comments in the comment section. Thank you. Bye.